It began as a fleeting instant, something so authentic that I hardly paused to reflect on it. Reflecting on the past, I realized just how near I came to crossing a boundary. It's quite peculiar that my husband was the one who noticed it first. He not only witnessed it, but he genuinely supported it from the beginning. As time passed, I began to sense a more profound energy at play. We shall refer to him as Ethan. He has been present for many years, a long-time family acquaintance simply exuding charm with ease. Relax. A person who effortlessly brings warmth and brightness to any space they enter. I must confess, there has always been a certain energy between us. However, I have merely considered it as innocuous chemistry. Ultimately, I find joy in my marriage. Nevertheless, Ethan began to drop these subtle remarks that seemed a tad too intimate a touch, too near for my comfort. He'd comment, "You look particularly radiant today," or, "I wish my girlfriend laughed at my jokes the way you do." Initially, I simply dismissed it as an aspect of his unique character. However, my husband Mark observed his reaction. He appeared neither jealous nor annoyed. Rather, he seemed truly fascinated. Ethan possesses an exceptional sense of style and preference. Initially, it appeared to be merely a light-hearted and whimsical pastime. Yet, while we tidied up following an animated dinner gathering one evening, the boundaries began to fade. His joke had me in stitches, yet there was an intriguing quality in his delivery that captivated me. Perhaps it ignited a flicker of enthusiasm within me. That was the moment when it all began. Mark began encouraging me to put in a bit more effort with my appearance when Ethan was present, to chuckle a bit more heartily at his jokes, and to draw nearer during those late-night conversations. One evening, he proposed that I accompany Ethan, just the two of us, to gather some items for the barbecue we were organizing. "It'll be quicker if I'm not around," he remarked nonchalantly. Yet his eyes revealed an entirely different narrative. A notion began to infiltrate my thoughts. Was there something deeper at play, or was this merely a reflection of Mark's unwavering faith in our union? It was in that car ride with Ethan that everything shifted. That evening, we settled into the car, and the refreshing air enveloped us. Yet an elusive tension lingered in the atmosphere, difficult to define. I attempted to dismiss the odd sensation that this was truly Ethan, the person with whom I had shared countless laughs and memorable moments. Some wonderful memories come to mind, often shared with Mark or friends nearby. This moment was no exception. We kicked things off in a relaxed manner, discussing the barbecue we were organizing and the snacks we ought to pick up. Then Ethan turned to me, his familiar smile lighting up his face, and said, "You've been acting different lately, but in a good way." I paused, uncertain of how to reply. "In what way is it different? I'm not quite sure I understand what you're getting at." "Whatever it may be." "That looks great on you." He averted his eyes for a brief moment, before locking onto mine again, maintaining the connection just a heartbeat longer than necessary. I let out a nervous laugh and hurriedly exited the car, attempting to dismiss his remark. Honestly, I experienced a blend of flattery and anxiety within me. He shifted the conversation to Mark, adding with a grin, "He's a fortunate fellow," while casting a glance in my direction. Not every husband would be so relaxed about our time together like this, which left me feeling a bit uneasy. Abdomen. Did it feel strange that his words made me feel acknowledged while we were in the store? In a fleeting moment, our fingers grazed each other as we both reached for a bag of chips, and he lingered just a bit longer instead of withdrawing immediately. Although it was a minor detail, it lingered in my mind as we completed our payment and made our way home. Simply embrace the fun. Feel free to inquire and express yourself joyfully. The notion lingered, swirling through my thoughts. Is Mark truly like that? Ethan seemed unfazed by this, but could there be something deeper at play? He paused to consider the best way to express it. While some individuals may experience a twinge of jealousy, Mark remains completely unfazed by it. That feels invigorating. Upon our arrival home, Mark awaited us on the porch, a beer in hand, and that unmistakable inquisitive expression in his eyes. He nonchalantly inquired about the trip, yet his gaze flickered between me and Ethan as if he were attempting to unravel a mystery, a tale concealed within unseen letters. I assured him everything was fine and swiftly continued on my way. Yet I sensed their gaze upon me. The atmosphere was heavy with unexpressed emotions that evening as we rested in bed, and I could no longer keep it to myself. "Mark," I said with a measured tone, "may I pose a question to you?" He faced me, composed yet focused. "Inhale deeply. What was your reason for wanting me to accompany Ethan?" "I trust you," Mark said with assurance, "and I'm certain you trust me as well." Him too. Just when I began to feel at ease, he said something that completely caught me off guard. "Honestly, I believe it's beneficial for you." His words lingered in my mind long after he spoke them. What on earth did that mean? Beneficial for me, right? I couldn't shake the sensation that Mark was withholding something significant from me. Yet I couldn't muster the courage to ask him at that moment. Today, Mark's deliberate, slow smile sent shivers down my spine. The following days unfolded like... It appeared oddly familiar, or at least that's the impression it gave. Mark adhered to his typical routine, behaving as if nothing was different, while I found myself acutely aware of every detail in my surroundings. Ethan's presence transformed the entire atmosphere, as if I were perceiving everything through a new lens that electrified the air with energy. One evening, as we were casually enjoying dinner with friends at our home, he arrived late, as he often does. The moment he entered, his gaze locked onto mine, and I sensed the palpable tension in the air. The connection between us was quite intense. In an instant, the tension I had been attempting to overlook caught Mark's attention as he laid eyes on Ethan. He called out, gesturing for him to come closer. "You must try the ribs. They're her finest yet." When he mentioned her, I felt a warmth rise to my cheeks as the evening unfolded. Several times I noticed Ethan stealing glances at me, particularly when I headed into the kitchen to fetch a bottle of wine. "You're avoiding me," he remarked casually, leaning against the counter behind me. A nervous laugh escaped my lips. I chuckled, my gaze fixed on the bottle as I released the cork with a satisfying pop. "Come on, that's absurd. I'm not trying to dodge you." He moved in a little closer, his voice lowering. "You know you can share anything with me, right? Something seems to be troubling you." At last I locked eyes with him, and for a fleeting moment, the intensity of his gaze took me by surprise, rendering me momentarily speechless. I felt no concern whatsoever. I swiftly averted my gaze, my heart pounding in my chest. I was keenly conscious that, noticing my slight discomfort, Mark quickly intervened before any further words could escape his lips. His timing was impeccable as he said, "Finally you're here." With a playful glint in his eyes, he inquired, "Everything good?" I couldn't help but smile and responded, "In this place, yes, but I feel like I could share what's been weighing on me with Mark." Later that night, after everyone had departed, we found ourselves in a serene moment on the couch, and I sensed his gaze on me, quietly observing. The atmosphere was charged with tension as he awaited my words. He faced you and Ethan, his voice steady yet resolute. "Do you not feel that you are nearing your goal?" As friends, I leaned in and inquired about the reason behind his gaze directed at me in that manner. The intensity of his gaze upon you, and the way you returned it, truly affected me. What is the meaning behind that? Perhaps you ought to give it a go and observe the outcome. For the sake of Mark. His smile seemed to fall short of the warmth radiating from his eyes. I gazed at him, lingering in a state of disbelief. Is this genuine? His expression was unwavering, as if he had made up his mind. I struggled to articulate my thoughts, so I simply expressed that life is too fleeting to ignore the elements that provide us with a sense of purpose. Was this merely an experiment? Did he truly grant me the green light, or could it have merely been a snare? Regardless of the circumstances, I sensed profoundly that a transformation was imminent from this point forward. Each encounter between Ethan and me was charged with an undeniable energy, through a silent connection that binds us. Yet I remained haunted by the lingering doubt regarding how profound things might become for either of us. Mark's voice echoed in my mind. Life is too fleeting to overlook what ignites your passion. I attempted to dismiss it, focusing on my regular activities and ensuring the barbecue was ready for our gathering. Yet despite my efforts, I found myself repeatedly drawn back to that evening to Ethan and the intensity of his gaze upon me. Ethan was simply being true to himself, as he always does. There was an undeniable energy surrounding him, wit, humor, and bringing joy to all around. Yet an odd tension lingered in the air each time our gazes intertwined, and I found it impossible to dispel. I realized I was observing him more than I perhaps ought to have, noticing the subtle details of his actions and the way his voice shifted when he spoke to me. At one moment, I made my way to the bar to get a drink, and suddenly Ethan appeared right beside me. Weddings typically unfold in a certain way. It's essential to maintain an air of sophistication, yet there was an unusual tension in the atmosphere that left me feeling unsettled. Are you okay? He inquired, his tone gentle, yet somewhat reserved. I simply nodded. Yet the unsettling sensation lingered within me. To be honest, I'm feeling quite drained. He gestured toward the vacant balcony and suggested, "Why don't you step outside and catch your breath with me? A brief respite from the crowd could be beneficial for you." After a long day, he flashed that playful smile that never failed to make my heart race. For a moment, uncertainty washed over me. Was this a delicate suggestion, or was I merely over-analyzing the situation, or was there an underlying situation that was beyond my control? I glanced at Mark, who was just as he always was, laughing and conversing with a few friends across the room. He was completely oblivious as Ethan and I quietly made our way onto the balcony to enjoy the cool night air. The fluttering in my stomach settled. Ethan rested against the railing, and I nestled beside him, absorbing the warmth radiating from his body. "You look absolutely breathtaking tonight," he murmured, as if the words were meant solely for my ears. I smiled, yet I was careful in considering my response, and the ensuing silence weighed heavily in the air. It appeared that Mark truly mastered the art of frowning. He perceives it, he recognizes the bond that exists between us. Ethan continued to speak, his gaze fixed on me. I found myself at the precipice of a choice that was irrevocable. I found myself unable to retreat from the impending moment, and then Ethan's gaze met mine. For a fleeting instant, I believed he might lean closer and press his lips against mine. His gaze was piercing, creating a bond that seemed to erase the world around us, leaving me momentarily dazed and at a loss for words. Just as I was on the verge of speaking, Mark's voice echoed from within, calling for me. That was the moment everything transformed for the better. Was it merely a test, a playful flirtation, or did someone genuinely intend to overstep boundaries? "Are you returning to us soon, darling?" Ethan stepped away from the railing, his smile shifting into a cryptic expression that jolted me back to the present, my heart pounding. "Go ahead," he said softly. I found myself adrift in contemplation, revisiting all that had transpired, and questioning why it felt as though the very earth had shifted beneath me. The lingering question remained. Did Mark possess some hidden knowledge? What was truly happening? Was he truly playing his own game all along? The following week was a tempest of emotions as the memories of the wedding night reverberated in my thoughts endlessly. Ethan's words lingered in my mind, mirrored in the gaze he held. As I strolled away, I made an effort to appear composed and in control. Yet an intense, nearly overwhelming tension enveloped us each time our gazes met. It seemed as though Mark could perceive my innermost self, recognizing the delicate nature of it all, the circumstances I find myself in. One afternoon, Mark and I were sprawled on the couch, idly flipping through channels, when he nonchalantly mentioned it. "How did your conversation with Ethan turn out? The other night I felt paralyzed, my heart racing. Could you clarify that?" He shrugged and averted his gaze. "You know the balcony. The drinks you two looked quite comfortable out there." I gazed at him, taken aback. He understood my confusion, uncertain about how everything unfolded. Yet there was an undeniable quality to his words that resonated deeply. He presented it with such a relaxed vibe, as if it didn't matter to him at all. The thought made my stomach churn. Was this a sort of examination, or was I merely meandering aimlessly, lost in uncertainty? As the atmosphere shifted to a much more somber tone, I was left without words. I paused, uncertain of my response, simply gazing at him, attempting to decipher his expression. Did he appear anxious? Mark's gaze was piercing, yet his words carried a casual tone as he remarked, "You know I'm not stupid." He possessed that well-known. His smile was effortless, entirely unbothered by my swirling curiosity and simmering anger. Mark absorbed everything around him, and I couldn't help but observe the way you gazed at him and how he returned your glance. A chill coursed through me, leaving me uncertain about how to navigate the situation. I felt a twinge of concern that he could potentially lose it. Mark raised his hand and said to me, "I'm not mad, if that's what you're thinking." His voice was gentle. "I have faith in you, and I have faith in him." As he let out a deep breath, there was an exhilarating quality to the way he held himself. What's happening right now, I was utterly amazed by how incredible this experience was. "You know," he continued, "there's something significant about the desire to be desired. It truly makes you feel alive. The way Ethan gazes at you is unmistakable, and your reaction speaks volumes." "In a certain light, it's quite beautiful," he remarked. Yet I was left speechless, my thoughts swirling. How did I even arrive at this moment? Was this truly unfolding? Was it merely a game to them? Was he guiding me toward Ethan without my awareness? Or was I merely over-analyzing the situation? Mark notices the bewilderment etched on my features. "I'm not requesting anything from you. I'm totally fine with whatever comes my way." I believed I had a grasp on Mark, yet now I sensed I was sinking. A heaviness settled in my chest, while my mind raced with a chaotic swirl of thoughts. Everything seemed chaotic, despite my belief that I had everything under control. He completely understood the situation. What was he really inquiring about? What occupied my mind that night as Mark drifted off to sleep while I remained alert in the darkness? My thoughts were racing wildly, and Ethan lingered in my mind. As I reflected on the effortless connection we shared, I sensed a deeper current bubbling just below the surface. At that moment, I couldn't shake the feeling that Mark was orchestrating the entire situation as if he held the reins of control over everything. He was engaging in a rather intricate game with me. But what was the significance of it all? The following day, Ethan reached out to me. Initially, it was merely a casual inquiry about how my week had been and a discussion regarding the upcoming weekend plans. In his usual playful manner, he inquired, So when is Mark finally going to let me take you out on a proper date? Huh? Ethan continued. I've been reflecting on what you mentioned the other night about things. We've been circling it for ages. My heart began to race at the mere thought. I released a nervous chuckle, yet the stillness was palpable. A palpable tension lingered, impossible to overlook. What are you talking about? A lengthy silence lingered on the other end before he finally responded. You understand what I'm saying, he remarked. The energy between us, the connection, the pull. Warmth flooded my cheeks. This was the moment I had dreaded. What was I meant to do in that situation? I'm not certain we ought to delve into this, I replied hastily, attempting to withdraw. It's complicated. Ethan's tone shifted. It became gentle, nearly persuasive. It doesn't need to be intricate. It's simply us, and I believe you sense it as well. His words struck deeply. Was he correct? Was this an inevitability we were bound to face? What weighed heavily on my mind was whether I was truly prepared to face the consequences of stepping into something irreversible. The subsequent days unfolded as a gradual, unavoidable countdown, a situation I feared I might not be able to prevent. Ethan's words echoed in my mind, his voice resonating in my ears, as if he were daring me to confront the mounting tension that lingered between us. Meanwhile, Mark behaved as if everything remained the same. The game he was engaged in was completely inscrutable to me. Yet I sensed it growing more intense with each passing second. On a Saturday night, chaos erupted. Mark had envisioned a relaxed evening at home exclusively for us, a night of. I was simply hoping to relax and watch some films. Yet I couldn't help but feel that Ethan might arrive at any moment. He had sent a message earlier, inquiring if he could drop by for a quick drink after work. I attempted to soothe my anxiety, reassuring myself that it was merely a casual affair, wasn't it? However, the moment Ethan entered, everything transformed. There was an unmistakable depth behind Mark's smile. He greeted Ethan as if it were nothing out of the ordinary, yet an unmistakable tension lingered in the atmosphere. It had a warm and relaxed vibe, yet I found myself questioning my place in it all. The atmosphere of the evening's peculiar drama enveloped me as Mark and Ethan delivered their performances with undeniable style. The atmosphere became increasingly charged as time passed. Mark lounged in his chair, effortlessly delivering jokes, while Ethan maintained his signature charm. Yet amidst all the laughter, those fleeting glances we exchanged, the gentle touches, and the way we lingered in each other's gaze for just a heartbeat longer, sent shivers down my spine in the most thrilling manner. Was either one ensnared in the midst tugged in opposing directions? Loyalties. Or was I merely succumbing to temptation? He remarked nonchalantly. It might be time for me to leave, I considered. Yet I sensed that he still had more to say. An unresolved tension lingered in the air, far surpassing the effects of the drinks we'd consumed. His gaze was fixed on me as he lingered by the door, and a surge of anticipation coursed through me. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" he inquired, and I instantly grasped the weight of his words. Mark was in the other room when he asked softly, and Ethan moved nearer, and my heart began to race. I was pondering what's happening. He remained silent, initially simply gazing at me with such intensity that it felt nearly overwhelming. At last he murmured, "This is always on my mind." Text: I need to know if you feel the same way or if I'm just wasting my time. The idea of Mark being in the next room entirely oblivious to what's unfolding between us made my thoughts spiral. Guilt washed over me yet beneath the surface. A wave of excitement washed over me as Ethan was entirely candid. He was revealing everything. Everything felt askew, as I fumbled through my words, battling to articulate anything coherent. "This cannot be correct." He shook his head, and I found myself pondering, is it truly wrong, or is that merely what others anticipate from us? His hand grazed mine, and I instinctively recoiled. "We cannot proceed to that location." I murmured, "Not in this manner yet." Beneath the surface, I couldn't dispel the sense that I wasn't completely persuaded. The connection between us was undeniable, growing more intense with each passing moment. Mark stood there observing us with an expressionless gaze, and for a fleeting moment, I believed I detected a blend of amusement and disappointment flickering across his features. "Is everything okay?" I inquired, glancing at Mark, a sense of guilt washing over me as I stumbled through my words. He inquired casually, as if we were longtime pals, yet I sensed an underlying tension within him. Mark nodded, his eyes briefly darting to Ethan. "Perhaps we ought to conclude things a bit sooner this evening," he suggested. "Tomorrow," he stated, not pausing for my reply, as he turned and walked back to the kitchen. The conversation was evidently far from finished. As the door closed behind him, I found myself standing in the living room, caught in a liminal space between two realities. The weight of his presence and the intense draw I experienced towards Ethan rendered me motionless in quietude. Warm Mark remained mostly silent, yet I could feel he was aware of the uncomfortable stillness enveloping the house. When he appeared once more, he was positioned directly beside me on the couch, simply gazing at me. For the first time in our marriage, it seemed as though he could perceive all the barriers I had constructed. Words eluded me when it came to speaking with him. I simply allowed his question to linger in the air. The reality was that there was no returning to the way things once were. In that instant, I realized that everything had irrevocably changed.